Good morning class 10. Welcome to the fourth e-learning session of SST. In this session we are going to discuss about the soil as a resource. Now let us recall whatever we have learned about the soil in the previous session. Okay. Now this is the soil profile. This is the top soil. This is your soft soil. This is your substratum and this is your parent rock material. Now we have already discussed this in the previous session. And I would like to recall this once again. This is the top soil where the plant can grow because the fertile soil is at the top portion of the soil profile. Just below the top soil lies the soft soil where there is weathered rock, sand, silt and clay. Okay. Below that subsoil there is weathered parent rock material, and finally at the last there is a parent rock, or it is also called the bedrock. Okay. Now let us understand here. Now what is a soil? Soil is a natural resource. It is a renewable natural resource, and it is something that supports different kinds of life on the earth. Now, as we have discussed earlier about the resources is something that satisfies the human need. That means if there is anything that satisfies human need, we call it as a resource. Therefore, soil is also a renewable natural resource. We have used the word resource because the soil satisfies human need. Not only human need, it also satisfies the requirement of other living organisms also. Okay. Now, when there is a soil, there is a plant. Okay. If there is no soil, the plant cannot grow on rocks or sand. The soil should be very fertile, or it should support certain kind of plants to grow. Now let us understand how soil satisfies human need. Now we already know that lots of things are grown on the soil. Okay. Now whatever things which is grown on the soil by human being, it is not for other thing, but it is for us, for ourselves only. Okay. Now the farmer grow crops for food, so we get food from the soil only. Okay. The next one is your the farmer grows cotton, jute and other things to make other processed product. The clothes which we are wearing also comes from the processing of raw material which is coming from the soil only. Okay. That means indirectly we are depending on the soil for variety of things to satisfy our need. Okay. This is one of the main reasons that soil has become a resource for a human being. As I already said that a thing is called a resource only if it satisfies the human need. Okay. So we know now that the soil is also one of the resource, and it is a natural resource. It is a natural renewable resource. Now why natural? Because it is available in nature. It is not a man-made thing. And why renewable? Because it gets renewed now and then. But how it gets renewed? Let us understand. Okay. There are various factors that helps in the formation of soil, and this is the cause for getting renewed again and again. Okay. The first thing is the change in temperature, action of running water, wind and glacier, activities of decomposers, etc. Now we'll understand this in more detailed manner. Now let us understand some of the factors that is responsible for the formation of soil. I would like to tell you about some of the agents that leads to the weathering of rocks and changing the rocks into the soil. Now let us understand through this picture. Now the first one is your number one, that is rock. This block is your rock. Okay, number one. Now due to sunshine, this rock sometimes gets expanded, and when the weather is cool, when the climate is cold, again it gets contract. This expansion and contraction also brings about the cracks in the rock. Okay, this brings about the cracks in the rock. And the next one is your rain. When these cracks are there on the rock, the rainwater percolates inside the cracks. It goes deep inside the cracks. Okay. Now the next one is the wind. When these cracks get widened, the wind brings lots of things along with it. You know, you have seen many times that the wind carries lots of things along with it. The leaves, the dust particles and many other things. And then in due process, they'll fill this crack. That means when it carries these things, it will deposit inside the crack. Okay, which will help further to widen the crack. And with the passage of time, it gets separated from the crack develops, so that the big boulders have become fragmented. It has become into three parts. That means it has get fragmented. Okay, and with the further action, similar action, the big boulders again converted into the smaller fragments. And in this process, after millions of years, it gets converts into the swell. So this is one of the process. Besides this, there are various other agents, like in desert, winds plays an important role in the formation of soil. The rivers also carries the boulders from the higher level to the lower level. During those process, also the big boulders get collided with each other and get fragmented. It becomes smaller and smaller when it reaches the lower course, because while flowing inside the river, it collides with each other. The pebbles, the stones, they collide with each other and get fragmented. When they reaches the lower course, they have already reached the shape of smaller size, okay, which is further fragmented due to the process of weathering, and then finally after many years, after millions of years, it gets converted into the swell. That means the river also plays an important role in the formation of swell. Now the another one is your volcanic eruption. As we already know that in this process the lava comes out of the earth, and then it gets deposited on the surface of the earth. It comes from deep inside and it erupts outside and get deposited on the surface of the earth. When this lava cools down and gets solidified, again with the process of weathering, it gets converted into the swell after millions of years. Now this is also one of the reasons of formation of swell. Okay, there are various other factors also that leads to the formation of swell. Now, as I told you, there are various reasons, various factors that leads to the formation of swell. Therefore, there is a difference in their formation as well as texture and other thing. On the basis of these factors, which is responsible for the formation of swell, its color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical property of the swell in India can be classified into different types. Now let us see what are the classifications. Okay. Now when we classify the swell in different types, now we find that there are 5 different types of swell which we are going to study. That is alluvial swell, black swell, red and yellow swell, laterite swell and arid swell. These are some of the important swell that we are going to discuss in this class. Now let us start with the first type, that is the alluvial swell. Okay, it is one of the most important swell found in the northern plain. It covers the most part of the northern plain. As you can see the points here, this is the most widely spread and important swell which covers the entire northern plain. Okay, these have been deposited by 3 important Himalayan river systems, and those are the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra river system. Okay, these are the important river system that brings the sediments from the Himalayan region and deposits it in the northern plain. These sediments makes the swell very fertile. Okay, the deposition which is done by the river system in the plains, that is the northern plains, is the alluvium. That means there is the deposition of alluvium, and the swell is called the alluvial swell. Okay, that is why the swell is very fertile in the northern plains. Now the next point is the swell also extend in Rajasthan and Gujarat through narrow corridor. That means in certain portion of Rajasthan and Gujarat there is also a deposit of alluvial. Okay. Now the next point is the swell are also found in the deltas of Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. As we know that the river flows towards the seas and oceans. Okay, when the river flows towards the sea, in the lower course it does the deposition of sediments. There is a deposition because of which it cannot flow fast, and it forms a delta region out there. A triangular shaped land mass is formed. That particular land area is called the delta. Okay, which is at the mouth of the river, and after the formation of delta, the river branches out into different part, and then they end up in the sea. They meet the sea. Okay. Now let us understand the different composition of alluvial soil. Okay, as you can see on the board, the alluvial soil consists of sand, silt and clay. These are the main composition of alluvial soil. Now let us understand the sizes. Okay, towards the river valley, the size of the soil is particularly bigger in size, whereas in the upper reaches of the river valley, that is near the place of the breaking of slope, there we find the soil is coarse. Now these kind of soil are predominant in the different sector of the Terai region, Chost and Duars. Okay. Apart from the size of the grains or the components of soil, the soil can also be described in the other form, like it can be described according to their age. Now according to the age, the soil has been classified into two types. This soil, particularly alluvial soil, has been classified into two types. That is the old alluvial soil and the new alluvial soil. Okay, old alluvial soil is called Bangar, whereas the new alluvial soil is called Khadar. Bangar soil is higher in concentration of conker nodules, whereas Khadar soil has less amount of conker and has fine particles, which makes it more fertile than Bangar. Now let us compare these two. Okay, now Bangar is the old alluvial soil and it has got higher concentration of conker nodules. Okay, which makes it less fertile than the Khadar. In Khadar, the conkers are very less in concentration and the particles here is very fine, which makes it more fertile in comparison to the Bangar. Okay, so we can generally we can say that the Khadar is fertile, it is more fertile than Bangar. Okay, overall if you see the alluvial soil, these both are alluvial soil, so if we consider both, now we can say generally that as a whole alluvial soil is a fertile soil and it is ideal for growing different kinds of crops. Now as we know, the region where alluvial soil is there, the crops are done intensively. That means intensive cultivation is done in the region where the alluvial soil are found, and because of this reason only, the region is densely populated. Okay, class 10. With this I would like to end the session for today, and we'll continue the final session of this chapter in the next session. Okay, now here is the assignment for you. Okay, the home assignment. If you could see in page number 13, project and activity, there are certain questions among which you have to do question 1, either question 1 or question number 3. Either of these two you have to do only one. It is of your choice. Okay, you can choose any one and do whichever you find it comfortable. In question 1, you will find that make a project showing consumption and conservation of resources in your locality. There are so many resources available in our locality. Now you just find out which one you are going to choose as a topic for conservation and consumption. You see the consumption process going on in your locality, okay, of a particular resource, or you can do multiple resources also. If you could do, then it is good. Okay, you choose one, any one, and then you start first. If you find it comfortable, then you can proceed to next also. Okay, collectively also you can do. So I suggest you first you start with one. It can be a water resource, it can be a land resource. Okay, any one you can choose and do. You find out what kind of consumption is going on, what way they are consuming that particular resource. Okay, and what is the conservation going on in that area? What is the role of conservation? Okay, how they are consuming the resource. Now, beside this, the next one is your imagine if the oil supply get exhausted, how will this affect our lifestyle? Imagine the world without the oil. Here the oil means the oil used in vehicle, the fuel, okay, that we use in a vehicle, petrol, diesel. Okay, we are talking about those oils. Now just imagine if there is no oil available in the world, what would be the lifestyle of the people? Now you imagine and think about it and make a project on it. I believe that you are going to do your best in this and you will show the work on time. Now for now, I want you all to revise the concept once again and do this project. Take your time and do it at your best. Thank you.